this one, you want to try and keep your back as flat to the floor as possible. Focus on your lower abs, try and lift your legs up. It doesn't have to be all the way, just as far as is comfortable for you. For a bit more of a chilled version of this, you can do your legs one at a time, or lift your legs up and bend them at the knees if you're bringing them up to your chest. Try to focus on using your abs rather than your back to do this exercise. Even though you might not be able to get as much height with your legs, it will be working your abs out a lot more. And for a bit of a chilled version of this, you can just lay on the floor and just focus on tensing your abs and see if you can get your bum or your back off the floor at all just by tensing. I like that. So these are slow mountain climbers. Try to keep your hands directly below your shoulders as best as you can, as in line as you can. And for a slightly more chilled version of this, you can be on your hands and your knees and you can just be extending your legs out backwards behind you just to get that motion of lifting your leg off the floor. So these faster mountain climbers can start to get difficult after you've done the first lot of them. Try and keep your core engaged as best you can so you're not sort of like swaying from side to side or wobbling too much. For a chilled version of this one, maybe just try giving the slow version again. You can have a little stretch in these rest periods that sort of help stretch out your muscles. With these Russian twists, try and make sure you're turning from your waist so you get that full range of motion of your top half of your body. For a slightly more chilled version of this, just put your feet down on the floor so your legs aren't raised but they're still bent like that in front of you. Remember to keep that breathing as regulated as you can. A lot of the time it works out as a nice rhythm of like one inhale and exhale per half the exercise. So in, out, if that makes sense, and find a rhythm that works for you. For a more chilled version of this one, just leave out the crunch part so you're doing just your legs in and out in front of you. Try to keep your core nice and engaged with this one so you're not sort of swaying about, you're trying to really controlledly, if that's a word, put your hips from side to side. For a more chilled version of this, try just doing a normal plank, but you could always start moving your hips from side to side more and more as it got more comfortable. Don't feel like you've got to do push-ups solidly for these 30 seconds because that can be quite a strain. If you need to stop and take a quick break, definitely do that. Try and make sure that from your shoulders down to your ankles you're as straight a line as can be. See, I've not quite got that perfect form, I'm sort of bent too far inwards. And for a more chill version of this, why not try being on your hands and knees rather than your hands and your feet and do the same pushing up motion. I like that. Because you've got to move your arms up and down so quickly whilst keeping this sort of leant back crunch position, it helps to really keep your abs nice and tensed. For a slightly more chilled version of this one, again, just put your feet down on the floor but still keep that leaning back posture to keep your core engaged. little trick I've learned with these sit-ups, which really helped me really sort of work my abs out doing sit-ups, is when you're sitting up, you need to exhale all the air out of your lungs, and that means that your abs can tense fully because there's no air in you. For a slightly more chilled out version of sit-ups, you're probably better to sit up sort of hugging your knees and just slowly let yourself lean back, just to the point where you can feel your abs starting to tense, and then sit forward again rather than coming up from the floor.
Like that. Like that. Like that. Like that.
Whilst doing these up and down push-ups, try to keep your body from swaying from side to side. I know it's difficult because you're alternating your arms, but try and keep your body as central as possible and just your core and your arms pushing you up and down. For a slightly more chilled out version of this, I'd say just try and do it slower and a lot more paced.
Like that. Like that. Like that.
There's no easy way out of this one. You just have to hold it as best as you can, and try and keep your body straight as you can. You can see at the top of your knees straighter. For a slightly more chilled out version of this, either just give yourself a break halfway, you can do it on your elbows.
Like that. Like that. Like that. Like that. Like that. Like that.
These are a really good workout now because you're just using that really bottom part of your abs and your oblique muscles to pull you forward to do your heel taps. For a slightly more chilled out version of this, I'd say try and do it a lot more slow, and you can bring your heels closer to your body so they're not as far of a reach.
Like that. Like that. Like that. Like that.
These are awesome because you're literally working out every single part of your body in one exercise. However, this can be really strenuous, so if there's a little bit too much, why not try just doing it individually, like one leg to one elbow, and slow it right down, one leg to one elbow. Just do it individually until you can start to build up that confidence.
Like that. Like that. Like that. Like that. Like that.
The key to this one is just to stay nice and controlled, and if it feels like a bit overwhelming, break it down into two exercises, the leg extension and the reverse crunch. And if you have to break that down, that's fine, and focus on trying to just get a little bit of height and really concentrate on using those abs to do it.
Like that.
Reach for your feet sit-ups. So these are awesome, and especially if you do that kind of little bounce in the middle, just to make sure you're really keeping that core engaged, and you have to try and keep your feet and your legs as still as possible. For a slightly more chilled version of this, why not try doing it with your feet on the floor but still keeping that little halfway bounce in the rhythm of it.
Like that. Like that. Like that. Like that. Like that.
Nova being the ever helpful little personal trainer of mine, spurring me on, bless her. This is just a really good last exercise to sort of solidify all that muscle that you've been working out and really just sort of fix it all together. Again, for a slightly more chilled version of this, I'd say you can do it from your knees or just really break it down, slow it down a lot.